Hello, everyone. This is Kelly Beard of KarmicTools.com, and this is a special spontaneous audio. Some of you may have heard me say along the way when I get to the end of the month of my podcast minutes, I have sometimes extra minutes left over and they don't roll over, so I like to use them. So every month, you either have totally packed forecasts or you'll get a little bonus material like this month, where I would like to talk about the upcoming Taurus Full Moon and Scorpio Super New Moon to follow. And I'll tell you why I decided to talk about this, because it's preparation for the following month of Gemini Sag Eclipses. So it's not a bad idea to get a little jump start right now on your life, essentially. So the lunar cycle is something we work with really closely in the Soul Sister Circle and in my shamanic astrology circles. Venus Circle is Venus and Moon connecting. We care about the lunar rhythm, and it's moving in an order at this time. We're only a couple of months into this pattern where it goes 18 months of the full moon preceding the new moon. So we have the Taurus full moon on October 31st. It's also the second full moon in a 30-day period, so considered a blue moon. But it's very special because it is doing the clearing work in preparation for Scorpio conception. So this is where we prepare the garden and we plant our seeds and we get ready to conceive something new. We don't know exactly what will actually take root, blossom, and come forth, but it's a good idea to set some kind of intentions. And I know power wishes and new moon, full moon intentions is not for everybody. So let me just say, if you're not into divinations and exploring the chart for the full moon or this kind of thing on your podcast, then by all means, come back later when we do the weekly forecast as usual. But for this month, I feel like it's a powerful month, a powerful year, a powerful time of year to clarify what you are creating. Basically, how you're using the power that you do have. We know that we don't have a lot of power in the world, but we have so much power within us. That's the indwelling reality that we live. So that's where the garden and cultivation of the garden happens, is internal. And when we do that internal cultivation, it's automatically reflected in what grows in the garden, what shows up, what's magnetized in, what collaborates well with the other things growing there. This is the kind of healthy garden we would like to have that has both food and flowers, both beauty and substance. And so a Taurus full moon is a time to look at anything blocking the beauty way, the way of doing it in a natural, essential, sometimes sensual, but connected to your body, connected to your senses, 2 feet firmly on the ground and present, is an optimal human, right? An optimal earthling. And that's something else that I like to remind people around any Taurus moon, is to get back in your body. Look around you. Check in with where you are pouring your resources of time, energy, and money. So this is a clearing for anything not going right in that department, right? We often have to navigate extremes in those departments. And so how can we bring more balance into that? How can we let go of anything that is an energy leak? Let's plug up all energy leaks so that what resources and, like I said, power that you do have, you can channel a little bit more clearly. So the first stop would be the issues being brought into the light of the Taurus full moon in general. But like I said, we're leading up to more intense and more important alignments. And so this is a good month to turn inward and take a little breather from the rest of the world, because Scorpio rules the soul and Taurus rules the body, and those are very personal, individual aspects of self. So this is when we look at how we cultivate and nurture anything, whether it's our own selves and bodies, mind, and spirit, or our lives and environment, or the work or the creativity that we're pouring out into the world. This is part of Taurus's domain. Your relationship to money, earnings, wealth, and possessions. What do creature comforts mean to you? How do they rank in your life? Some people absolutely have to have certain creature comforts, and some people are like total minimalists and can do without a lot of that. And the rest of us are in between, right? As a woman, I can testify I do have some things I don't want to live without. But I have learned that there is value in minimalizing and simplifying your life, and that includes the possessions. I've never been big on those things because then you have to manage them and protect them and insure them and pay attention to them, and they drain all this energy. You have to ask, what does it give back? And in Taurus, you always get to ask, what is the reward for the hard labor that we put in? Taurus is the part of your chart where you can put in the hardest work with the least amount of complaint. Like, when you put your goals to it in this department, you can put your head down and get it done because Taurus rules it. But the trick is that Venus rules Taurus. So your values and priorities have to be right. But what are you comfortable with, and how is that changing? What's run its course? Because it is a full moon. We're going to get to the release part soon. But where do you need to reconnect with the energy of Mother Earth? Like I said, get more grounded, get more present in your body, get more attuned to your body, because our 5, 6 senses that I like to say are our internal communication systems. They're very important because they are the part of us that does not automatically have the cultural overlay or the family conditioning. It is your soul communicating with you. So we definitely want to check in there. Where do you need to ground your energy and intent? And when we say ground, very often we mean make it real, give it a container, create space for it. We have these big dreams and we have these big goals, but do we really have the space in our lives for them? Can we really handle them once they've manifested? This is where that old adage comes in and says, be careful what you wish for. Your personal garden, like I said earlier, is your life that you create by the seeds you plant. So what are the seeds that have run their course and maybe not popped, right? So think of the seeds you planted in May. Now when we get toward November, that's the 6th month of fullness. What was going on at Beltane? What was going on during April, May? Now we know 2020 is special, but still think about what was coming to life, what was taking root, and what was showing promise. And now, where you at? It's a good idea to check in with what's got some life force energy at this point. That's what you want to pour your resources into going forward. Anything that hasn't taken by now, let it go. And I will always talk about Taurus and Scorpio as the power to create, but they are both known for creating in very different ways and through different means. So Taurus likes to build and acquire and solidify and make real and bring to life, keep things a certain way. And Scorpio wants to let go and operate on pure essence and soul level promptings. And the soul does not ever need the trappings that we humans need, right? So wherever Taurus is in your chart is going to be the area of life, let's say, where blockages, stagnation, apathy, and negative thinking shows up. So let's look at that and let's do some release work around that. Renew your definition of self-esteem and self-worth. Very often those themes come up a lot in a Taurus moon, making us feel worthy or unworthy, one way or another, depending on where our values and priorities have been lately. And sometimes that's where things go wrong. When I've seen people go for jobs that are just for the money, they can be very unfulfilled and miserable. So it's hardly ever the number one benchmark. When you're choosing a career path or choosing a purpose and a direction in life, you want to choose what you're going to be happiest doing the most often in the most hours of the day, because typically that's the kind of jobs we have. And no matter what job you choose, like I love my job, but it's still hours of my day that I do this job. So you want to do something that you love and that you can grow with. That's really a big piece of it. And that's what goes wrong in regular day jobs, is that there's no growth potential. You can only do this job and it's only got these elements, and it's kind of very one-dimensional. And it's why we need to have other things to do in our lives. And so creativity is up during a Taurus moon as well. So those blockages and stagnation, as long as we're doing some release work and clearing, we should be able to activate some creativity as well. It's definitely time to assess your values and priorities and commit to some kind of renewal and rearrange them in whatever way is best for you. We're always balancing the visible and invisible with Taurus Scorpio, right? The tangible and intangibles of life. And always a good helper is to renew and beautify your surroundings. So certainly in a full moon, we want to do all the release work and clean and cleanse and prepare, because when we plant seeds, we want some nice clean ground to work with. So this clearing and beautifying and breathing life back into some areas that might have been stagnant, because that's what happens over time. Definitely assess any famines going on within you. Mental famine, emotional famine, physical famine, spiritual famine. What have you just gone way too long without? Let's give that some attention and renew your dedication to life as a building process. You know, it's the journey, not the destination, but we want to co-create with it. We don't want to feel like victim. And what comes up with Taurus Scorpio is the oppressor and the oppressed very often. There's this dynamic with how power is distributed. So in Taurus, power is distributed through the earth element and what we're able to grow, like we said. And in Scorpio, the power is expressed through the water element, our emotions and our feelings. And again, with that soul level sensory perception, that's our inner psychic. Cancer's our inner empath. Pisces is our inner intuitive. We all have it somewhere. But when it's activated, these lunations happen twice a year. So we have the Taurus new moon and the Scorpio full moon early in the spring. And now later in the fall, we have the Taurus full moon and the Scorpio new moon. And like I said, that order changes every 18 months. So right now, we're actually set up to do clearing, releasing work first so that we can start on a really clean slate at the new moon. Now we'll go down the road. It's probably a little over a year now, because we just started this, but the lunar flip was in the spring. It was during the Aries Libra lunation. We got 2 Libra full moons back to back in the spring of 2020, you may remember. And that changed our order. So it's going to go along, and then it'll flip back, and it'll be new moon preceding the full moon, which is a completely different vibration. When we have the new moon first, we usually have to plant seeds and walk by faith, and we get to the full moon, which lights things up and shows us things we just couldn't possibly have known. And so then there is some cleanup and correction that happens, and it's just a different rhythm. It's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just a different way to go. I personally prefer this way because I love to clear and cleanse and create space for something that I can then release to the universe and just get Kelly out of the way. I'm not holding on any attachments. I'm just for the highest good of all involved, and I can plant those seeds and trust whichever ones are going to take root are the right ones to take root. So there's some questions to contemplate at a Taurus full moon specifically, is to ask yourself, is it still worth it? And in this case, because Venus rules it, let's look at our relationships and finances. Again, with those energy leaks, is it people draining your energy, or is it financial? Where is your vision too narrow? Where and when are you stubborn versus determined? Okay, another good thing for the cauldron on the full moon, to let go of any stubbornness and be open and receptive to determination. You know, there's lots of light and shadow ways to look at Taurus energy. We already talked about which seeds took root and which did not, so you definitely want to take note of whatever's been able to survive 2020. We know that's got a nice strong root, right? Where are you imbalanced around food, sex, or spending? Deep breath. How are you currently spending your resources of time, energy, and money? Again, with the assessments, right? This is just assessment, because we're getting ready to conceive some new way of channeling our power on our own behalf. So we want to clear anything blocking whatever's for our highest good, like I said. Are your investments yielding positive results or rewards? So this is back to, is it worth it? The things that you're investing, your time, energy, and resources, are they reciprocal? Are they balanced? Is there a fair and balanced exchange of energy? It's all energy. We can take the names and faces off. It's all energy. There's an earthy energy, which is tying into other earthy energies in the sky. So the last one on the list of questions to contemplate is, what naturally repels you and what are you naturally attracted to? And how has that evolved and changed over the last 6 months to a year at a minimum? Okay. Now, take all that and go a little deeper. Let's assume we do that clearing process. then that allows us to get to the Scorpio new moon and create a completely new life, or at least conceive one, and facilitate the transformation necessary to birth it in next spring, right? So we're going to do the clearing first, but this would be the time I'd remind you not to be upset or distracted by what you're letting go of, clearing, or releasing, because it's not really about that. It's not about what you're letting go of. It's about what you're clearing space to bring in. And we just want that to be as clean and pure as possible. Scorpio energy is always about karma. So we definitely want to clear and cleanse any karmic debris, emotional debris. This is the month to do a burning bowl where you write down everything you would like to release in your life and burn it, and then take the ashes to living water. Really ask your angels, ancestors, and animal spirit guides to help you with integrating the material and spiritual aspects of your life, your being, and your environment. Ask them to help you with directing, accessing, and directing your own personal power, and doing that responsibly and with integrity. Learning to trust your own instincts, intuition, and inner psychic knowing. That's getting a huge renewal at the new moon. We can claim our power there. Releasing victim consciousness, not being a victim nor victimizing others. Integrating your deepest desires with practical mundane issues. Pluto rules Scorpio, so it's always about stripping the non-essential within and around you. So there is this phoenix from the ashes kind of vibration. So another vibe of the Taurus full moon preceding it is releasing our attachment to food, sex, and money, or to having it a certain way, or to having our creature comforts be a certain way. Let's not define that as insecure. It's just changing. You know, what used to make us feel safe and secure is changing. It's different now. And let's be okay with that and claim it at a higher level, right? The Scorpio new moon is going to ask you what you're creating now. You know, used to bees don't make no honey. So we don't want to be living in the past. But this is our moon. This is it. This is where we give up the old life and make room for the new life. This is where we consciously do the phoenix from the ashes process of death, rebirth, and transformation. That's all part of it. So let's tune in to what we really care about, what's most important, because that's what a Taurus moon, full or new, brings up. And let's look at what we want to keep alive. What do we want to pour our resources into? What do we want to activate the vitality of? What do we want to awaken and conceive? What creative thing would you like to conceive going forward? And what aspect of your being, body, or environment, like a literal piece, do you want to seed going forward? Now, part of this bonus audio is, like I said, we're going to go into the chart and the divinations that I got for this, because that was very juicy as well. And we're looking at the Taurus full moon chart for October 31st, 2020, which has a Sag rising, which tells me we are going to have to be able to honor our own truth and face the truth of certain things. And at the same time, that puts all that Capricorn in the second house. So where we are cleaning house, where we are completing ginormous cycles, 12 years, 28 years, and 248 years, and Palace is there every 5 years, so that's probably the shortest one. They're all ending these big, huge cycles of doing things the old way, or being responsible for things you are no longer responsible for. You can look at it any way you like. It's just time to get real and choose the reality you would like to seed going forward, because that too is part of Jupiter in Capricorn is renewing the truth and story in that department of your life. Wherever that is, there's an expansion. We're learning. Everybody's learning something of the lesson of Capricorn. And the lesson of Capricorn is responsibility for your actions and choices and decisions. And it's your inner authority. So that's getting a renewal. And I've always said, to the degree that you can be responsible for yourself, that is the degree of freedom you will be allowed to have. And if you can't be responsible for yourself in this world, something will be, an order will be imposed upon you. And most of us don't like that. So it's better if you can find a way to be as self-sufficient as possible. And that's a lot of what the Capricorn energy is bringing up. How much we can do for ourselves and how much we need other people for. and these fundamental shifts at home and work and in the self versus other departments, the individual within the context of the relationships. It also, with being so Capricorn heavy, has to do with our purpose and what we are capable of holding in terms of a structure or being responsible for, and what are we bringing into form, and how have the forms over the last 30 to 250 years basically run their course. That's all. It's, again, not good, bad, right, or wrong, just run their course. So how can we dream up something new? In shamanic astrology, Capricorn isn't even the patriarchy. It's the council of elders. It's the council of grandmothers. Earth is a feminine energy. Capricorn's a feminine side. It was hijacked like everything else that patriarchy hijacks along the way and calls their own. Doesn't make it so. So let's get back in touch with the elders who know more than us and access that wisdom that Pallas is channeling for us at this time, giving us direct access to. And that's where you would want to do your own divinations and ask for your own guidance around what's your piece? What is your offering? What is your purpose for the world? Why are you here? And what is your little tiny piece of brilliance that's going to make a difference just because you're you and because you shared it? And it's such an important piece for the rest of us. If you don't bring it, then it will be missing. That's why we need it. That's why you're here. Then we have Ceres, how we nurture and like to be nurtured, wrapping it up 29 degrees Aquarius, which means she's about to move into Pisces by the Scorpio new moon. So that's going to lend some water energy to that chart when we get there. In this case, I would just suggest thinking about what your personal individual needs are in terms of friendship or community support. We're coming out of a couple of months of exploring options of very different things feeding and nurturing us and being able to think outside the box. Many of our lives have been turned around or turned upside down this year, and we've discovered some things, and not all of it has been completely horrible and tragic. There has been some blessings and some epiphanies and some ahas and awakenings that are the kind of awakenings you don't go back to sleep on, right? That you can't unknow what you know. So now that you've woken up to certain things, you can't go back. And now that alone puts you on a new path, right? Neptune, of course, is living in Pisces, 14 whole years. But what I'd like to say about that is it is helping us reconnect with the God of our understanding, with the source and the spirituality that works for us as individuals. It's also a big deal in its big cycle, 165 years to move through the zodiac. And that means that cycle's almost done and about to renew. Think of Neptune in Aries. Oh my God. So right now it's home, it's in its strongest placement, but it's also dissolving so much of the old world for us and preparing us to birth a new vision, which is also Neptune's domain. And in this case, we're all learning how to do our boundaries better so that we're not overwhelmed by the knowledge that we know there's so many things going on around the world. It's hard enough to process the challenges and tragedies of our neighborhoods, let alone our states or our country or the world. So when you pile all that onto one little human shoulder that has any conscience or any kind of empathy at all, they're going to feel overwhelmed. And so Neptune has been training us. This is like a workout to learn how to have really good boundaries, which you'll always hear me repeat over and over. Hemp or bamboo, something super strong, super flexible, but breathable. We still want to know what's going on around us, but we don't want to be overwhelmed by it. So working that Neptune in Pisces has a lot of good things, but there's a lot of challenges to it as well. Boundaries being one of them. Deception and delusions and illusions being another shadow of this placement, sort of believing what you want to believe, telling yourself stories without being practical and grounded, like bringing that Virgo to balance out all that Pisces. That always helps. And at the same time, it is becoming a new world. So we have to surrender to certain things, and Neptune can help us do that. And it can also help us find alternatives in terms of energetic support when we turn to our invisible team. And that's showing up in the third house, which means communicate with your invisible team as much as you can. Your angels, ancestors, and animal spirit guides are way more available than the humans these days. Humans are truly unavailable for consultation because No one's exempt. Everybody's going through something. And so the Aries department here has got Chiron and Mars. They're both retrograde. This is intensifying the energies, also illuminating things about ourselves we may or may not be ready to totally process. So just do the best you can. Try to pick one thing. Try not to be overwhelmed by everything being revealed to you at this time, but kind of choose a piece to deal with or dive a little deeper into. But know that as rough as it is and as uncomfortable as it can be in terms of the frustration or the blockages and delays that are coming up right now, just know that it's all divine order and that the true gift is rewiring you as the individual. Your independence, the courage of your convictions, overcoming fear of new beginnings, being able to initiate this clean slate that's coming up. This is all the behind the scenes work we have to do. We have to heal our individual selves so that we can heal the rest of the world. I always say if the individuals get it together, the globe will be okay. So Aries is the part of us that gives you permission to be selfish, because it's not selfish, it's self-preservation. It's essential for you to know yourself. It's essential for you to understand what your role is in any given moment and what your purpose is on this planet. That's the Aries part of us. As long as it has a purpose, it's good. Aries only gets in trouble when they don't have a purpose or direction. And so let's review ourselves, review our lives, review the healing we've been able to do, and look at what hasn't been able to be done. I don't know about y'all, but parenthood put a whole bunch of things on the back burner for me that are starting to come back to the front burner. Like, okay, you got time now. Let's look at these things. That's what happens. Every lunation, we get a chance to look at a different department that's being lit up by the lights of our sky. The lunar light, the solar light, they are our illuminators, right? And they're personal. They move with us in that personal rhythm, and Aries is very personal. And in this chart, it's ruling the fourth house. So back to you, the individual, home and sacred space, and how you replenish, how you recharge, how you protect yourself, how you maintain your independence and don't be codependent with others in a personal way, and don't be dependent in other ways out in the world, because then, like what's happening now, the rug can get pulled out from under you because you're not in control. You're not in charge. And I get it. The bigger systems in the world, ain't none of us in charge or in control of any of that. But that's when you have to pull back in and operate from a different default setting. Okay? That's when I say your invisible team is most valuable and useful. The actual Taurus moon is conjunct Uranus, which already signifies the awakenings happening in your body and soul. Your mind plays tricks on you, but your body never lies. You have to be able to be the earthling that you are and be tuned into your physicality. And Uranus is cracking us all open to the fact that we are definitely a spirit in human form, and we are multidimensional beings. But right now, we're traveling in this vehicle of a body. And so it's really important to not look at it as a burden, as a bag of bones to be dragged around through this lifetime. That's not what it is. Actually, I've heard Lorna Bevan call it our vector of enlightenment. It's our vehicle to acquire this knowledge and wisdom that cannot be acquired on any other planet. Earth is the only Goldilocks planet hanging in the Goldilocks zone of just right, not too hot, not too cold, just right to create life. We're not a death-oriented planet. We're a life-oriented planet. Earth naturally begets life all the time. And the death processes that Western culture likes to avoid and disregard and dismiss as non-essential is absolutely essential to all of it. So that's another dynamic that Taurus Scorpio brings up for us, is the life, death, life process. So this awakening is happening in the fifth house of this particular chart, and that is our creative center as well, our creative babies, and learning how to express ourselves in all new ways. And that's through all our senses, through our body, mind, spirit, and soul, right? Now, remember I said Sag is ruling the chart, so that puts Gemini North Node in the seventh house of relationships and partnerships and collaborations. So again, with entertaining the ideas and possibilities of partnering in new ways. What are some new and different ways that we can collaborate to ease the burden across the board? right? On ourselves, on the earth, on each other, all of it. And then we move up to the top of the chart. Venus is at the top of the chart. Sometimes that's noteworthy to see who's at the top because they have a lot of influence as well. And of course, she's ruling Taurus full moon, and she's moved into her home sign of Libra, so she's also her strongest at this time. That is powerful to take note of. Mercury is also still retrograde in this chart and in Libra, which is ruling the 10th house of career and your purpose and what you're known for. But this is also kind of in the world. So we're negotiating some balance in the world. We're renegotiating all our relationships and how we relate and the ideas and concepts of what kinship and community really means to us and each other and how we can do that better. I skipped over Virgo, my apologies. Vesta in Virgo is one of the sacred feminine, and Vesta is what is sacred to you, the individual. Virgo, we're back in the body. Your system, how much can it actually handle? So I recommend, this is October 31st, so November, December, really do what you can. I know it's the holidays coming up. I know it's crazy rhythms out there, and this year's going to be weird and different because of all the craziness we've been through. But try to give yourself some time in nature to process and be alone, because that's what that indication tells me. It's also, that Virgo across from Pisces it is engaging all four corners of the mutable baby. So Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, Sag has got all four corners activated. That's really powerful. So on the Virgo Pisces side, we're getting back in our bodies and making it sacred, not just important, but sacred, to be healthy, to be well balanced, to be natural. It's not in our nature to act like machines and think that we can go 24/7 and never replenish or rest and get ourselves back together. It's a vibrational thing. We've got to work on our vibration. And then that Gemini Sag is our ideas and concepts and what we believe to be true or possible for ourselves. So that's evolving too. So we have this micro to macro. We've got some internal work going on that's reorganizing things. And we've got the external choices and reorganization of our physical worlds and our environment around us that's going on this month. And so don't sleep. That Scorpio sun is really close to Juno, what we're deeply wedded to and committed to. And in Scorpio, we're back to the soul. We're still back to our essence and our power to animate life and to come back from the death process and renew ourselves. We are regenerative creatures. That's another thing this month reminds us of. And we can regenerate whatever we need, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual. We can reconnect and cultivate some life and bring some life to that dark spot. So let's use this lunation for that. Our energetic support is really powerful for renewal and for change, but it does really point in a lot of directions, kind of over and over, that if you change, then everything around you will automatically change or go away. That's just the natural law. And if you focus on you and getting you together and being stronger in your individual systems, then navigating the social collective gets easier too. I know that's not always easy or possible for everyone, but do the best you can, because the time of year we're rolling into is when we truly surrender and let go of the past year. The first week of November, what I call Access the Ancestors, or in the Celtic tradition is Samhain. It is the time when we ask the ancestors for our guidance and what I also call the mandate from heaven, our instructions for the upcoming year. But what's really precious about this time is that I feel like it's bigger than 1 year. It's 2020, we're clearing a decade and we're initiating a decade. And that's powerful. So let's get okay with the life, death, life process. Let's know in our heart of hearts that after every death or ending, a new beginning automatically follows. So no matter what we've lost this year, it has cleared space for some kind of new life and new energy to come in, which leads me to the divinations. So I asked about the Taurus full moon being time to release an old way of creating or having fun and release the old routine or daily habits. They need an upgrade. We want to release unconscious habits and replace them with conscious practices. So because our routine was so disrupted this year anyway, you might as well come up with a new one. And the new one absolutely has to integrate more joy and pleasure, another Taurus domain, into your daily life, because that's something else we go in a famine around. You know, if you're tuning into the news and the madness and the chaos of this country in particular, you're missing some of the beauty that's also going on. And so I would also say that too, for those of you who are news buffs and watch all that stuff and get all wound up on Facebook and Twitter and everything, that's fine. I get it. You want to be informed, you want to know. But if you're going to be willing to inform yourself that way and pour all that information into your consciousness and into your being, then you have to be willing to pour an equal amount of goodness and positivity to balance it out. That's all I'm going to say. Otherwise, it's imbalanced and it'll make you crazy. And we've all seen it happen. We've all been in the spin ourselves once or twice. Hopefully, you figured out how to do better and navigate this crazy intense year. So, what was really juicy about the divinations was that I held Women Who Run with the Wolves and asked about the root of the blockage, whatever that may be, in our Taurus department. And what I opened to was renewing the creative fire, which is so powerful and so on time. But I'm curious how it lands for you. So for those of you that have hung in there past the half an hour mark and are loving divinations, I would love to know how they come through for you as well. So I took a few notes initially that we're definitely doing a clearing in the subconscious realm, but a lot of what we're going through feels very much like a dark night of the soul. We know that there have been some permanent endings this year and that there is no going back. There really isn't. And we've talked about this in my circle for years about crossing a bridge. And when you get to the other side, that bridge crumbles behind you, it disintegrates. And it's not because anybody's bad or wrong. It's because whatever you just came from, whatever was back there, is no longer necessary. So let's trust that. Whatever's leaving our lives when Scorpio or Pluto decides to clean house, which is once a year in this case, they never take away anything essential to our being or our goodness. It's only that which has grown toxic and useless and has run its course and it's time to go. It's blocking life, basically, from coming back in the way it should and in a regular flow. That's why renewing the creative fire. We can get stagnant. We can get bogged down with real life, everyday stuff. And then how do you create under those circumstances? How do you get inspired? I wrote this down. Energy in old form becomes weaker and weaker and is on its last leg in some important way. Okay, that is always when we get to the end. Like we said, the death, rebirth, and transformation, this is it. Energy just changes form. It never dies, but that old form has to die. The energy doesn't die, but the forms do, okay? When we lose focus, we lose energy. And it's a sign of imbalanced or malnourished masculine within. So I usually describe the masculine, which is in men and women. It's the part of us that can negotiate on our behalf, get our ideas out in the world, and hold good boundaries. So that is where I was in meditation. I was kind of asking what's run its course, what needs to be released, what needs to be cleared. And this is it. An imbalanced, malnourished masculine for all of us, men, women, and otherwise, to pay attention to when you lose focus. What happens? Where does the energy go? And activate a little patience in that moment, knowing that it's going down to come back up. And so are we. I really feel that way. I think we're going down at the end of this year to come back up in the new year in a completely new form, with a completely new purpose, with a completely new direction that is actually more in alignment with our true selves than what we were even pursuing before all this madness kicked in. Also, when something bad or negative happens, it means that something new must be tried. So anytime you're blocked, you have to look at it like a blessing and ask, what am I supposed to learn here that I wouldn't have learned if I had kept going down the road? A new energy has to be introduced. As soon as we hit that wall, that's what we need the most, is the new energy. A helper, a healer, a magical force to be consulted, which is your soul self or your higher self or your angels, ancestors, and animal spirit guides is another good place to start. But in Women Who Run with the Wolves, according to Clarissa Pinkola Estes, this is our guidance for the full moon in Taurus. She says, so now let us imagine that we have everything together. We are clear about our intention. We are not drowning in escapist fantasy. We are integrated and our creative life flourishes. We need one more attribute. We need to know what to do, not if, but when we lose focus. That is, when we wear down for a time. What? After all this work, we might actually lose our focus? Yes, it will only be lost temporarily, but it is the natural order of things. The theme of this story is about how one regains focus once one has lost it. Focus is composed of sensing, hearing, and following the directions of the soul voice. Many women are quite good at focusing, but when they lose touch with it, they become scattered like a featherbed burst all over the countryside. Deep breath. It is important to have a container for all that we sense and hear from the wild nature. For some, it is their journals, where they keep track of every feather that flies. For others, it is the creative art. They dance it, paint it, make it into a script. Remember Baba Yaga? She has a big pot. She moves through the sky in a cauldron that is actually a pestle and mortar. In other words, she has a container in which to put things. She has a way of thinking, a way of moving from one place to another that is contained. Yes, containment is the solution to the problem of all loss of energy. Deep breath. So Taurus would be the container, Scorpio's the energy. To lose focus means to lose energy. The absolutely wrong thing to attempt when we've lost focus is to rush about struggling to pack it all back together again. Rushing is not the thing to do. As we see in the tale, sitting and rocking is the thing to do. Patience, peace, and rocking new ideas. Just holding the idea and the patience to rock it are what some women might call a luxury. Wild Woman says it is a necessity. Deep breath. And neither should we panic when we lose our momentum or focus. But like her, we must calmly hold the idea and be with it for a while. Whether our focus is on self-development, world issues, or relationships doesn't matter. The animus will wear down. The animus is your positive masculine within. It is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. Completing long endeavors, such as finishing school, concluding a manuscript, fulfilling one's opus, caregiving an ill person, all of these have their times when the once young energy turns old, falls down, and can go on no longer. Deep breath. For women, it is best if they understand this at the onset of an endeavor. For women tend to be surprised by fatigue. Isn't that the truth? Then they wail, they mutter, they whisper about failure, inadequacy, and such. No, no, no. This losing of energy is as it is. It is nature. It is completely natural. The assumption of eternal strength in the masculine is in error. It is a cultural introject that must be routed from the psyche. We must get that out of there. That we're supposed to go, 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 get bigger, 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 more, more, more. That's such a masculine do, do, do. Feminine needs to be sometimes, and we need both. We need to do and be. We need to give and receive. We need to have the container and that which it contains. This misconception causes both the masculine energies in the inner landscape and males in the culture to feel an unwarranted sense of failure if they tire or need rest. All naturally need a break to restore strength. All of us do. The MO of the life-death-life nature is cyclical and applies to everything, all living things anyway. So what is the point of this reclamation and focus? This calling back of what has been lost? This running with the wolves? It is to go for the jugular, to get right down to the seed and to the bones of everything and anything in your own life. because that's where your pleasure is. That's where your joy is. And that's where your woman's Eden lies. That place where there is time and freedom to be, to wander, wonder, write, sing, create, and not be afraid. Deep breath. When wolves perceive pleasure or danger, they at first become utterly still. They become like statues, utterly focused so that they can see, so that they can hear, and so that they can sense what is there. Sense what is there in its most elemental form. Deep breath. So a pause for the cause is always good. This is what the wildish nature offers us, the ability to see what is before us through focusing, through stopping and looking and smelling and listening and feeling and tasting. The senses help inform us. We cannot be disconnected from them through the food or pharmaceuticals or whatever. We need to remain connected so that we can get this wisdom and information so that we can navigate better. Last part. Focusing is the use of all of our senses, including intuition. That's your sixth sense. It is into this world that women, or people in general, come to in order to claim their own voices, their own values, their imaginations, their clairvoyance, clear seeing, which is what clairvoyance is, their stories, and the ancient memories of women or the ancestors. And these are the work of focus and creation. So Taurus would be the creation part, Scorpio would be the focus. If you've lost focus, just sit down and be still. Take the idea and rock it to and fro. Keep some of it and throw some away, and it will renew itself. You need do no more. Deep breath. So it's tuning in to our creative potential, asking for that to be revealed, for our creative solutions to be revealed, for what is most practical and useful for our own bodies. This full moon to clear whatever's blocking that health and well-being and beauty from coming forth, or from going into the conception of this new life that we're conceiving now in November that we may not see the little sprouts of until spring. So that was our initial guidance, basically saying, let's renew the creative fire. Let's let go of the old ways of being, creating, doing anything. Let it all go and step up our game. I asked about more guidance from the Tarot of the Spirit by Pamela Eakins. We love her because she combines all kinds of mysticism and cosmology and the tree of life, the Kabbalah, numerology, astrology. It's all wired in, and I love her for that. So when I asked for general guidance for the full moon, I got Water Mother, which is the keyhole, and associated with Gemini and Cancer. So our thinking and our feelings. But then I asked what would help renew the creative fire and release the blockages, and I got the Eight of Fire. So we're going to do these two. The Water Mother represents extreme purity and beauty in its most subtle form. She embodies the dreamy and elusive qualities of illusion. She is the shimmering tranquility which results from the endurance of emotions over time. In the stereotypical sense, she is the perfect mother. She seems self-sacrificing to the point of martyrdom. Her love seems altruistic. The Water Mother's emotions have a long time frame. She has paced the pulse of her feelings, and therefore, while she might appear to be low-key or even non-feeling, she has tremendous staying power and wears well. She will be there offering assistance long after others' flames have gone out. She will be there exuding a quiet love. Because Water Mother moves at a slow and deep rate, and because, like Water Father, she reflects the observer, it may be difficult to see her truth, but she is devoted, loyal, and nurturing. She has the gift of subconscious vision, and she sees and acts on the basis of her intuition, which is accurate. In medieval times, Water Mother appeared holding a closed cup It was said that she held the secret of the subconscious. Due to her tremendous capacity to receive, process, and transmit, water is a conduit, she is the perfect agent. She is psychic and has accurate dreams and visions. She is a symbologist, and the symbols she uses are the product of the collective unconscious, to which she is aptly attuned. She may appear to be very wise. When you are in an emotional transition, the Water Mother may appear at a portal through which you are to be conducted. Okay, so this is where we are moving through the portal into the eclipse portal. And so this is preparation for the changes coming to our consciousness. If we can prepare our body and soul in this way, then the awakening and the expansion of our consciousness and the break to realign that's coming in our Gemini Sag departments will be more fruitful, I think. But let's discuss, of course. Reach out. Let me know how it's going. This will likely be a portal of love. If you draw the Water Mother card in divination, you are probably moving to a new level of understanding. The new understanding involves the creation or adoption of new forms. Okay, so we know that so many forms broke apart this year, and we have to create new forms in the new year. And something is about to be created when Water Mother gets pulled. At this portal, the challenge is to pace yourself and wrestle joyously with difficulty. So sometimes we got to wrestle joyously with difficulty and ask where it can be useful. When you face adversity with joy, burdens naturally become lighter. Joy comes from doing that which you feel deep down in the soul is right. The greatest quality of joy is the encouragement it brings. Meet this time with joy and all will be well. That is the message of the Water Mother. So that's powerful because, again, we go back to gratitude of the Taurus full moon. Even though we're releasing, even though there's so much loss and suffering and death that we've already experienced, and now we're experiencing the death of the year and the death of a decade and preparing for the birth of a new year and a new decade. So that's okay. It's all good. The lightning path, which is helping us renew the creative fire, and now we are in some fiery energy, she says is associated with Mercury in Sag, which is also coming up after Mercury gets done with its retrograde through Libra Scorpio. Its first stop will be Sagittarius after that. And so we will have pieces of our story clarified that, let's say, were not clear before Mercury went into its process. So that period can be very fruitful, let's say, for helping you lock in believing something better and more true for you here and now, as well as staying positive and, again, looking for the silver lining, looking for the positive outcomes to the degree that you can. The Eight of Fire is the card of perception. It is the card of transmuting spirit. At this time, you are on the verge of a raised consciousness, which, if allowed to develop, will alter your goals and convictions. Deep breath. If allowed to develop. As you arrive at this point, you are in a time of major movement to a higher level. You are achieving a broader base of human and spiritual knowledge. You are now able to put words to feelings that you've had, but until this point could not fully express or comprehend. It is as if the clear direction of your life has been floating just below the surface of your conscious mind. You knew you had an important task, but you could not quite perceive it. At the Eight of Fire, however, clear direction rises to the surface. You need only follow your intuitive grasp. Deep breath. So if we do the clearing, following the intuition gets a lot easier. The Eight of Fire is the lightning path of energy taking off. This energy flows to you from the primal universal force. Some refer to this energy as the descent of power. As you perceive this energy or power moving toward you, you will know that you are on the right track. The force of the universe is behind your ideas. In becoming aware of this, you realize that you can harness and channel this force for your own empowerment or for the empowerment of your group. Deep breath. Harnessing force means becoming very, very clear and moving with a universal flow. In order to become clear, you must ascend to meet the energy as it comes to you. So deep breath. The lightning path is so powerful. So that's what she's talking about. Energetically, we rise to meet the energy we know is coming toward us. We have this new life coming toward us. We know it. We know it. So let's clear the heavy baggage and bondage of the past and rise into this new energy to do it in a new and different way. This means that you must open yourself to receive, understand, and channel universal energy. Let the universal force flow through you, and you will be successful in actualizing your deepest goals. Letting the force flow through you is a sign that your understanding has matured. Your fiery energy has become more subtle. Your nature is now coolly electric. You can operate from a low-key but more effective position. This is an indication that you are headed in the right direction. Although you now have words and concepts to describe your work, you feel very comfortable in moving ahead without discussing it. This is because when you are on the right path, you do not need to clear it with anyone. Deep breath. It is now time to move quickly. Move quickly and you will reap great rewards. On the lightning path, movement is rapid, driven by the momentum of polarizing opposites. At the 8 of fire, you are driven by your own understanding of the dualistic nature of the universe. There is black and there is white, female and male, cold and hot, wet and dry, earth and heaven. The 8th force mediates between matter and spirit, the square and the circle. She does sacred geometry too, y'all. Thus, 8 is the symbol for regeneration, which is also Scorpio's department. It represents the eternal spiraling movement of creation. It represents the spiritual connection of the conscious mind, earth, the below, to the higher consciousness, heaven, the above. Arriving at this point in time, you are motivated by the incredible force of making connections. Deep breath. On the tree of life, the 8th sphere is the sphere of the conscious mind. At the 8, the subconscious mind has transmitted sensory experience to the conscious mind of thought. Thus, 8 is creative and rational thought. It is the realm wherein archetypes, symbols, and other abstractions are created from all that which seems illogical. You are now making sense of things. You are describing and understanding processes and occurrences for which earlier you could find no words. The 8 is the dawn of objective consciousness. With objective consciousness comes enlightened perception. You are now part of the group that understands. That is why the 8 of fire, the lightning path, is also the symbol of initiation. And we are always being initiated at Scorpio time. With your new level of understanding, you can now see the purpose of membership or belonging. This enables you to understand the significance of the secret ceremony. In seeing clearly, as if for the first time, you have a sense of communion with that which was heretofore unrecognizable. As your philosophy changes, you benefit by using the subtle energies of the lightning path to purge your existence of that which is no longer necessary. Deep breath. With each extraneous element you burn away, you shed more light on that realm which you once perceived as darkness. Burn away that which is outmoded, and your consciousness will rise to ever greater levels of awareness. Burn away that which is outmoded, and you will rise to ever greater levels of awareness. The key to separating out that which needs to be burned from that which should be preserved is the knowledge that love is the catalyst that triggers the movement of the lightning path. The perception of love creates the most powerful of all energies. Move in the way of love and you will become energized, aware, and fully empowered. So, this was very powerful guidance in and of itself. So then I asked for an animal to assist, and I got mouse. This is from the Animal Wise Tarot, which is by Ted Andrews, which tells us to examine life's lessons. So that's another piece of what we have to do at this time, is kind of get all the good out of all the mistakes that we've ever made and put them together into some wisdom to guide us forward. Mouse has lots of good gifts to share with us. When it appears it's time to examine life's lessons, especially those going on at the moment. Take another look at what's happening in our lives, which we have to do right now since Mercury and Mars are backwards. If Mouse has appeared, details are important. We have to remember the past so we can prevent future occurrences. So we don't want to be forgetful. Forgetfulness is the primary source of suffering. Remember that. But at the same time, we have to stay present as well. Now, mice multiply so well, it suggests planting as many seeds as possible, because like I said, we never know which ones are going to work out and come to life. That also says they are highly perceptive and very organized. They remind us that no matter how great and overwhelming a task may seem, by paying attention to and working on the little tasks, the bigger problems are minimized and greater goals are accomplished, all a little at a time. So I like to read the reverse because that lets us know when we're operating from shadow. With Mouse, it's being nitpicky and losing sight of the big picture. It reminds us that problems and obstacles are what make us creative and critical thinkers. So Mouse really helps us to see what's going on and to deal with it. But a reverse Mouse reminds us if we don't learn our lessons of the past, they will repeat. So this is the thing. God only gives you the same test over and over until you pass. Once you pass, you don't have to go through that anymore. So the questions to ask are always, I think, one of the best parts of this one. Are we neglecting the trivial, unglamorous, but necessary aspects of life? Is there something obvious that we are missing? Are we getting so lost in big dreams that we're neglecting other things in life? Are we becoming so focused on one or two activities that we're neglecting other opportunities? Are we not seeing what is right in front of us? Are we scattering our energies? Okay? Again, with the resource of time, energy, and money is so important to do responsibly and consciously, and not haphazardly and disconnected. So, after Mouse, I pulled the Shamanic Path cards and asked for the Taurus Full Moon. I got Shaman's Death. This is the first time I pulled this one, which suggests an initiation into shamanic work can occur when someone experiences a physical death and returns with new powers. Write about experiences where you returned from a physical or metaphorical death and resurrected into a different state of consciousness. Write about any near-death experiences, whether physical or metaphorical. I trust that with any form of death, resurrection will follow. So, deep breath. As we let go with the Taurus Full Moon, we create space for birthing anew. Then I pulled Grandfather Fire. So perfect, as it is one of the oldest and most primal elements on Earth. Its elder status grants it the designation of Grandfather Fire. Next chance you get, create a gathering around an outdoor fire, which will be on this Halloween's full moon. Let the fire of passion ignite your soul's purpose. I am grateful for the gift of fire. And I will be doing a big fire the 31st and the 1st in honor of the ancestors and doing a huge ceremony and ritual. And I promise to share what I can when I can. So that is all our guidance and divinations and extra support around this lunation. Like I said, it's in preparation for bigger things coming down the pike. So let's take some time out in nature and some intentional solitude to do some communing with the soul, to take some inventory, personal inventory, and what has survived this year, what has not, what was a resource that you had access to that you no longer do, and what did you not have access to before that now is all of a sudden available because of the changes. We have to, like I said, find the positives even in the situations that are really super uncomfortable and painful and different. So let's also be mindful of that. Sometimes it's just new and different. It's not necessarily bad. So let's not be fearful And let's not automatically judge and label things as bad and wrong. Let's feel into it and allow our senses to communicate to us what the truth for us really is. That's why Spirit gave us this body and all these senses to communicate. So we need to practice with our own individual systems to see how they work and know that the energies support us to do that, to get back in your body, to get back in your right mind, to be grounded on earth because you are made of earth. We're not computers, people. We are living creatures that come from a living creature. And that's something. And like I said, this life, this eternal life that knows how to reset and rebalance and regenerate itself, we have that wisdom wired into our bodies as well. We are made in the image of our Creator. We were created out of this earth. Our electromagnetic field is connected to the core of the earth, which is electromagnetic, and the field that protects the earth, which is electromagnetic. Our hearts are the only electromagnetic organ in our bodies. Well, I guess our brains are too, but our hearts send way more signals if you do the research. It is so vital that we take time each year to tune in to these deeper levels that do get neglected in the day-to-day rhythm, but must be checked in with, especially at times like this when we're surrendering an old life and an old year and an old decade in preparation to birth a new one. So let's choose what we want to let go of so that it isn't ripped out of our hands or hearts. And let's go willingly so that we're not dragged, And know that I am grateful to have the community to share these kind of things with. And for those of you that do love the divinations like I do, and who have missed the Instagram live that I haven't been able to do so much of yet, I'm coming back. I'm getting there. I'm setting different things up in place so that I can be more consistent, because it's getting there, y'all. I'm getting a rhythm with it and I'm learning my way around. And Spirit has seen fit to send me helpers. So there are some people in my corner that are helping me do better with that as well. But this audio will go up on the podcast and the YouTube as extra bonus material that I am very grateful to share with you. And so reach out if you need to. Know that this lunar support is powerful and available for all of us. And it is lighting up the Taurus Scorpio realm of your chart. So wherever that is where your ending, new beginning is happening. And so that's where you can also turn for a little bit more of a filter to run things through. Otherwise, reach out if you need to. Thanks so much for being part of my community. Thanks for listening. This is Kelly Beard of Karmic Tools signing off.